I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris, Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. The time is now 7 p.m. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can please remain standing for a moment of silence for all those lost in the recent mass shootings across the country. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel?
Here.
Ms. Guariglia?
Here.
Mr. Ravitz?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Gyorfy?
Here. Chief Nunn, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Township Committee members, Mayor, and other dignitaries. Also, welcome community. All the firefighters are here for tonight. We're gathered here tonight for a promotional ceremony for Lieutenant Bishop. I'm going to read a quick bio for Lieutenant Bishop, and then we'll move through the ceremonial process. So Lieutenant Bishop was raised in Morris Township and attended Morris School District, graduating from Morrison High School in 2003. After high school, Lieutenant Bishop attended York College in Pennsylvania, where he graduated with honors with a degree in elementary education and a minor in physiology. Lieutenant Bishop was an avid swimmer, holding the position of team captain on both high school and college swim teams. Lieutenant Bishop joined the Morris Township Fire Department at the Mount Campbell Fire Company at the age of 18 and went to hold the positions of company lieutenant, captain, along with additional positions of treasurer and president of the Mount Campbell Fire Company. Lieutenant Bishop was hired as a career firefighter in 2011, becoming not only the first female career firefighter in Morris Township, but also the county of Morris in a whole. During her tenure in the career division, Lieutenant Bishop also obtained certifications as a level 2 fire instructor, fire inspector, fire officer, and has been the recipient of the Township's Life Saving Award. Prior to her promotion, Lieutenant Bishop served as the executive board of Firefighters Benevolent Association, Local 70, as secretary, negotiations committee member. While Lieutenant Bishop has earned various accolades and as well as respected in the fire service, asked if she would say her greatest achievement is becoming a mom to her 2 girls, Emma and Madison. Lieutenant Bishop and her husband, Chris, are proud to live in the same community that she will continue to serve in. Lieutenant Bishop will be joining the command division stationed at the Morris Township Fire Headquarters on Dwyer Lane. Please join me to congratulate Lieutenant Bishop and wish her well in her new assignment. We're now going to move on to the promotional ceremony. Lieutenant Bishop would like to invite up her husband and her daughter, Emma and Madison. Her husband is going to hold the Bible for her. All yours.
Yep, put your left hand on, raise your right hand. Close for microphone.
Do you, Daniel Bishop, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and will bear faith and allegiance to the same, and to the governments established in the United States and in this state, under the authority of the people, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, repeat after me. I, Daniel Bishop,
I, Daniel Bishop,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of lieutenant
of lieutenant
of the Township of Morris Fire Department
of the Township of Morris Fire Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Lieutenant. Congratulations. It's an honor and a privilege to present you with these. Congratulations.
Welcome, family, friends, neighbors. I'm Bud Ravitz. Just wanted to say a few words tonight on this wonderful occasion of the promotion for Lieutenant Bishop. A firefighter is someone who has enough courage to overcome fear, just enough fear to still be humble. A firefighter has the right attitude to take whatever comes his or her way, but not too much of it, that he or she does not lose compassion or empathy. A firefighter is proud, trustworthy, and honorable. A firefighter is the world's greatest problem solver with the world's coolest toolbox. A firefighter loves to work as a team, being interconnected to his or her brothers and sisters in the firehouse. A firefighter is a person who never quits, a person who never stops learning, a person who gives all, and a person that many of us wanted to be when we all played as children. A firefighter is a hero who doesn't think of him or herself as ever being one. Congratulations on your promotion, Lieutenant. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Let's get a group picture. You want to get the committee or just? All right. We'll do it over here.
Here or up here? Where would you like?
You want the blue screen?
Oh, you get in the middle.
Thank you, everybody.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done. Good to see you.
You good there?
I'd like to thank the Township Committee, Administrator Tim Quinn, and Chief Nunn for this opportunity. Almost 12 years ago, I stood up here, sworn in as a firefighter. Fast forward to tonight, and I am still honored to have the best job in the world. I look forward to continuing to work alongside my brother and sister firefighters to serve our community. I'd like to thank my family, my husband, Chris, our two girls, Emma and Madison, for their unwavering support. I hope when my daughters are older and look back on tonight, they are proud of their mama. I hope they will always know their dad and I will cheer them on, inspire them to chase their dreams, and instill them to appreciate all of those that believed in them along the way. Thank you for all of those who have believed in me along the way. I could never fully express my gratitude to those who have taught me, supported me, and exemplified the type of firefighter I strive to be. I am proud to start my newest chapter as lieutenant, and I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and it's still a pleasure serving with you as a member of the fire department. Congratulations to your family. And now we'll have a brief recess so you guys can celebrate, and then we'll start our meeting back up in about 5 minutes. So thank you all for coming out. Feel free to join us. or feel free to go party at Woodland.
It's a tough one, I don't know.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, I will call back to order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris this Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. The time is now 7:17 p.m. Thank you for those joining us virtually for sticking with us and for everyone in the room here this evening. Next on our agenda item is approval of the minutes from our January Township Committee meetings. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes from January 4th, 2023, our reorganization meeting, and January 18th, 2023, our regular meeting for both regular and closed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to proclamations. This month, we celebrate the legacy of Black Americans whose power to lead, overcome, and expand the meaning and practice of American democracy has helped our community, state, and country become a more fair and just society. This country was established upon a profound but simple idea that all people are created equal and should be treated equally throughout their lives. Tonight, we'll be recognizing the significance of Black History Month with a proclamation penned by Deputy Mayor for Public Outreach, Kathy Wilson. We'll also be recognizing our local Black history with a proclamation by Deputy Mayor Bud Ravitz, who will be recognizing the great work of the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League, who has brought the Collinsville neighborhood together for over 75 years. So first I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Kathy Wilson to provide an overview of her proclamation.
Yes, thank you. I did work on writing this a couple of years ago, and it was an interesting and inspiring experience to do that. So I am going to read a couple of the paragraphs from this. Whereas Black History Month is a time to commemorate the historic struggles of African Americans to gain freedom and equality, to recognize the importance of these struggles to our country's history and ideals, and to celebrate the many achievements African Americans have made to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development as a nation. And whereas, I'm going to paraphrase, Black History Month was first established in 1976 and has been celebrated as a national event ever since then for 1 month. Whereas February was selected for a number of reasons that are significant to Black history. February 14th, 1817, the birth date of Frederick Douglass. February 1st, 1865, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, was adopted. February 23rd, 1868, W.E.B. Du Bois was born. February 3rd, 1870, 15th Amendment granting Black men the right to vote was passed. February 12th, 1909, 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birthday, NAACP was founded. February 4th, 1913, Rosa Parks that's her birthday. February 1st, 1960, a civil rights movement milestone occurred when a group of Black college students began a sit-in at a segregated Woolworth's lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. And on February 10th, 1964, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Civil Rights Act. A lot of significant events occurring in February, which makes February a logical choice to celebrate Black History Month. Whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our nation's attention to the ongoing need to enhance our understanding of Black history, to overcome racism, to acknowledge and address systemic barriers that obstruct equal opportunity for all, and to build a society that lives up to our founding ideals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in this spirit, the Morris Township Committee supports this February 2023 celebration of Black History Month and encourages our residents of all ages to observe this occasion through activities based in thoughtful, open-minded inquiry and reverence, as well as sincere efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. And before I turn it over to Deputy Mayor Ravitz, I wanted to note for those in the room and those joining us on Zoom, we do have a presentation that will be given by a representative from the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League, Mrs. Pamela Watson, who, and I'll have you come up in a little bit, Pam, but Pamela came into our Parks and Rec committee when we were going over the playground design a few weeks ago and provided a tremendous history of the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League. There's a lot of history that I didn't know as someone who's lived here my whole life, and I think it's a history a lot of folks living in the township now may not know. So we were so moved by by the presentation you gave that we invited you to be here, and it's a really important part of our community's history. And it's a pleasure to have you here with us tonight to speak to it, and for those joining us virtually to learn more about your organization and just the Collinsville neighborhood in general, because Collinsville is part of our history. It has a lot of history. I've read some of it, but not all of it in local books, but I'm looking forward to your presentation and thank you for coming out. But right now I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Ravitz for his proclamation recognizing the Civic and Improvement League.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League continues to be a living mission that fosters a set of values to govern the community, and whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League was organized in 1946 by community leaders of the Collinsville section of the Township of Morris to preserve and enhance the quality of life for all residents in the Collinsville community, and whereas the Collinsville Civic and Community League, Inc. encourages and fosters active interest of every member of the civic, social, and moral welfare of the community, and whereas the active group of citizens has continued in their dedication to the residents of Collinsville, provided the forum in which the community family members could join in fellowship to create an atmosphere of belonging and caring, and through commitment to the residents of the Collinsville community. And whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League has, in their 77 years, consistently provided for the Collinsville community activities, events, and support and advocacy. And whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League encourages and fosters the development of inclusivity between Collinsville residents and the broader township residents, that the opportunity is available to all. And whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League continues to be a living mission that fosters the values to govern the community, and whereas the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League, a civic-minded organization, merits the continued good wishes of the Township of Morris. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned of the governing body of the Township of Morris, do hereby proclaim to all that Collinsville Civic and Improvement League, Inc. merits recognition as true leaders in the township for their civic responsibility and engagement, and for all their efforts to enhance life in Collinsville and in the township.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ravitz. And with that, we will invite Pamela Watson up to the podium up here to provide a history of the organization and talk about Collinsville history in general. Thank you, Pamela, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. Can everybody hear me?
Move the microphone a little bit closer so folks at home.
There you go.
Okay, can everybody? Oops, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Collinsville Civic and Improvement League on October the 25th, 1996, celebrated 50 years of community service, caring for our community, for our neighbors, and for our children, and for our future. We received a congratulations letter from the Office of the Governor at our celebration, who at the time was Christine Whitman, and a proclamation from the Township of Morris. The mayor at the time was John Murphy. And at the celebration, we honored two of our senior residents at the time, Mrs. Catherine Ritchie and Mrs. Viola Stewart. Now, Mrs. Catherine Ritchie lived in Collinsville for over 65 years. And when Mrs. Ritchie discovered that there was a community organization that was being created, she quickly got on board. Her family was very grounded in the community, and her father, William Harris, was well known for his dedication to the community's youth when he worked at the Collinsville School. Her family environment taught her the importance of family and community. Mrs. Ritchie joined the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League because she recognized the importance of the community working together towards a common goal. In the beginning, the organization focused primarily on improvements to the community relative to like road conditions, proper lighting, and ensuring that the decisions made by the township governing body included Collinsville community. Mrs. Viola Stewart lived in Collinsville for over 60 years, and she was an adult when she joined Collinsville Civic and Improvement League. And she was already involved in community activities before the league even formed. The Township Hall at that time was across town on Mendham Road over by Burnham Park. So there were Collinsville residents that walked to attend the Morris Township Committee meetings seeking improvements to the community's quality of life. Mrs. Stewart was one of those residents who made that walk to speak out for the community. She, along with Beatrice Tucker, took craft lessons at the YMCA at that time on Washington Street and brought their skills back into the community and provided recreation for the community children at the Collinsville playground. Now, Collinsville School, it was housed as the Collinsville School, and Morris Township residents approved the construction of the school on Cleveland Avenue in April of 1904. It was a 2-floor building with 4 classrooms on the upper level, and on the lower level, they had 2 classrooms and a cafeteria. Any child living in Collinsville from 1908 to 1954 spent their K-3 school years in that school. And in 1954, the school was converted to all 4th grade. It was at the Collinsville School where kids received their first lessons in baseball under the direction of Mr. William Harris as school coach, custodian, resident checker, expert, and head chef. The baseball team was under the watchful eye of Mr. Harris and was considered the best in the area. Every spring, the whole school would celebrate with a baseball breakfast where a vigorous game was played at 6:30 a.m. Wow. And followed by a big breakfast prepared by the mothers before the first class of the day. In the winter, Mr. Harris taught the children to play checkers and organized a tournament in which almost everyone in the school played. In the summer, when the school was out, then the school grounds were still filled with residents' children learning from Mrs. Beatrice Tucker and Mrs. Viola Stewart on how to weave baskets, keychains, make wallets, and moccasins, and just to name a few of the crafts that they were taught at the school during summertime. The school was also used by the community to hold Halloween parties after the children paraded through Collinsville community streets following the Collinsville fire engine. After the parade, the children returned to the school and went to the cafeteria where they were served cider and donuts. And they played games such as dunking the apple. You remember that game? Mm-hmm. And every Friday night, the school doors opened for the youth to socialize in a safe environment. There was a jukebox in the cafeteria, and refreshments were served. Collinsville Civic and Improvement League had their meetings, and they were held at the school. They had fashion shows, they had children talent shows, just to name a few of the activities that were going on there. There were many fond memories of Collinsville School. The school tied people together as a community where parents shared in common interests and everyone knew each other. For 60 years, the Collinsville Public School educated hundreds of children. The custodians of the building will be long remembered, especially Mr. Cole and Mr. William Harris, who not only took care of the building, but coached for the sports and played checkers with the students on rainy days. The school, unfortunately, was torn down in 1973. Community residents were devastated because the school was such a great historical significance to them. The school tied the community together, and the destruction unraveled the community. To this day, it is a mystery to how most lifetime residents in Collinsville as to why the Collinsville school was torn down. The Collinsville School grounds is where the community held its Drug Awareness Day, their annual family festival, and the youth had summer supervised programs there. And then I wanted to talk about Collinsville Fire Company because it was chartered in July 11th of 1912 in Morris Township. And the members of the company initially met at Owen McHugh's barn, which was located at 235 Martin Luther King Avenue, and a bell was placed on a tree to serve as the fire alarm. The firehouse was built on Erin Avenue in Collinsville and was torn down in 1974. But a new firehouse was erected on Whippany Road and Hanover Avenue, where the Collinsville Fire Company relocated and still stands there today. Then we had the first church. The first church erected in Collinsville was the Collinsville Chapel, and it's on the corner of Martin Luther King and Hervey Street. And it was a lot that was purchased in 1887. The first church was later converted into a storefront store, and for several years, but then later the storefront was converted back to the church, and it was called First Baptist Church, and it's now the Morristown Church of Christ, and the building is still there, So I think that's all I have to share. So I hope that was interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for coming to speak about the history of Collinsville and the Civic and Improvement League. And I know you've been great partners, and the neighborhood's been great partners in the reconstruction project for the Collinsville Playground and Tucker Field. And we're looking forward to continue working with the neighborhood to make sure the Collinsville Playground is kind of restored as the center of the neighborhood. And we want to make sure that the design, as Mr. Ravitz has talked about too, the design meets the mark, and we get everything we want to, and the neighborhood gets everything it wants to out of the process. So with that, I did just want to remind, I think we'll have notices go out that on March 8th at 7 p.m. Will be a public meeting for the park design at Unity Charter School. And we want to make sure we get shovels in the ground as soon as possible for this project. And so we encourage everyone in the neighborhood to come out and see the design plans and provide input so we make sure we get this project done right. So thank you, Pamela, for coming. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight and joined us online. It's a great part of our history that's not often told, and thank you for telling it for everyone. So thank you so much. And I think we'll have that proclamation. We'll have it framed up, and we'll present it to the league down the road. So with that, we will now move to the next agenda item for tonight, which is the presentation of our Environmental Commission's annual report. And we're lucky to have our chairman of the Environmental Commission, Brian Morgan, here with us this evening to present. So Brian, if you want to come up, feel free. And I know we have a presentation that will be shared on screen as well.
So to save time, we're just going to show the cover page. It's about 14 pages. Didn't want to drag on too long. Hopefully everybody has an opportunity to take a look at that. I certainly encourage that. So I'm not sure if we can get at least the cover on.
Perfect.
I'm not sure if we can get the cover of there it goes. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to review the 2022 Environmental Commission annual report. The Environmental Commission we'll call for the EC for short to save time, had a long list of accomplishments that the township should be proud of that should yield benefits for many years to come. While covering all of those accomplishments would take too much time, I did want to highlight several of the most impactful. You most likely have heard Sustainable New Jersey bronze certification. It was a tremendous achievement. It was the first time the township has achieved that certification, and it reflects both the hard work the township is already doing for sustainability and the effort of the Green Team volunteers to ensure all that work is captured and recognized. Again, that's on the side, that's sustainable. To get that certification is something that our neighboring towns had already done. So this was a kind of a sore spot and kind of a challenge for the Environmental Commission to make sure that we were able to get that done. So again, a big thanks to all the Green Team volunteers that drove to get that complete. We successfully applied for and received a grant for a native garden in Butterworth Park. The initial groundbreaking happened last fall, and you can expect to hear more about the opening of the garden later this spring. That garden is basically a cornerstone of a lot of our communication that we're trying to push for saving our local ecology, about more planting native plants and allowing the local ecology to grow. Energy aggregation was an initiative that many EC members well before me saw as a top priority and as a way to save both electricity rates, but also allow for renewable sourced energy to all residents. After many sessions, after several years, discussions and pushing, we were thrilled when an energy aggregation ordinance was adopted in December by this board, moving the process forward. We're excited for the time when energy aggregation and the environment for energy aggregation is favorable enough to allow residents to benefit from this great opportunity. Site reviews are the core of the Environmental Commission, reviewing the land use applications to ensure alignment with our township goals and providing recommendations that the land use boards can use in their decision making. While this has always been done by the EC, the 14 reports conducted by volunteers this past year continue to improve and build upon and provide more insight than the ones before, constantly trying to improve. The EC has prioritized making these reports more robust and valuable to those on the land use boards to ensure the township's environmental resources are sufficiently protected. Larger applications, such as those for the Red Bulls and Springbrook, were discussed at length at the given application meetings and reflect the growing importance of the EC reviews. Last but not least, I wanted to mention outreach. Again, led by member Charlie Schechter, our distribution list has grown from basically nothing 3 years ago to over 600 active recipients. If you don't already receive it, I encourage everyone to sign up for the monthly newsletter to see what's happening on the Environmental Commission with the town and ways that you as residents can help make the township more environmentally friendly. Additionally, the EC are out in the community at events like the Winters Farmers Market that's happening over at over at the Convent Station, and the Fall Festival that happens in the fall. It takes a tremendous amount of work to achieve these accomplishments. These amazing EC volunteers spend many hours in training, watching webinars, getting certified, knowing the work they do is well received by the township. That understanding that the application and support from you on the Township Committee is absolutely critical for ensuring the EC's continued success and growth. I wanted to thank all of you on the Township Committee that have worked on the EC in the Environmental Standing Committee capacity, all but Mark, who I'm hoping we're going to get in the future. We welcome Bud back, who joined back.
I was on it on my first year when Dan Faulkner was chair.
Oh, really?
So
It's
I have
before
been
my
on it
time.
once,
Again, I'm
but
still new.
looking forward to joining back again.
So we welcome Bud back. Appreciate the time Donna spent last year, and always appreciate the amazing effort by Kathy. She puts in the EC. She's a real champion for our cause. Well, saying thanks, I also wanted to thank all the professionals, especially Mr. Quinn, who attends nearly every meeting, despite the often long running time, and his continued support for helping us meet our goals. With all your support, we're already making progress on 2023 with, again, marketing focus, improving our marketing of the Do Not Plant list, which we're going through a rebranding and a large push to make sure residents are aware of the Do Not Plant list, trying to make sure people know about planting natives. Greater progress on our site reviews, exploring Silver Sustainable New Jersey certification, which would be a very heavy lift from the bronze. It goes much more challenging to get to silver. And applying for new grants, which I believe there's resolutions tonight that hopefully will be approved to allow for more sustainable practices we're going to follow, as well as to seeking to increase communication with the land use boards and more. That's just what we're doing already in 2023. I personally would greatly appreciate any input feedback you might have to ensure we are growing as an EC and identify areas where we can have the most success. To fellow residents, if you are interested in getting involved, please attend our monthly meetings, subscribe to the newsletter, tell a friend about us, or look to join us. Always looking for more hands. Thank you again for your support, and I look forward to a successful and greener 2023.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. And I continue to be amazed by the amount of work and enthusiasm and excitement from not only you and your members from the EC. You guys have tremendous suggestions and give great guidance for the township to make sure we're reducing our environmental impact and footprint on our area. And I would agree with you that Kathy is absolutely a champion of the environmental standing committee and through her membership on the EC for many years and working on sustainable Jersey certification last year. She's done a tremendous job on the EC. So thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson,
Thank you.
on all that. I think we all agree that we have to do as much as we can to preserve what we have left in Morris Township to be as sustainable as possible. And I know the whole governing body is always open to ideas and suggestions from the EC on what best ways we can accomplish this and ways we can work together from the governing body level perspective, from a budgeting perspective, to make sure your priorities are our priorities, both in the short and long term. So thank you for everything you do, Brian, for all the time you spend, not only on the EC, but doing your diligence and joining other committee meetings as well and doing the background work. I know you have a lot of other things going on in your life too, I think, from coaching and being involved in the community through other organizations. So thank you, Brian, for all of your hard work throughout the year. And if that's throughout the 2 or 3 years as chair, 3 years on your third year. Yes. So
I happen to notice that you were appointed chair 1 year ago tonight. So you were only on last year for 10 months.
So thank you to all you, and I know some members are joining us on Zoom as well. Thank you for all of their work as well. So any other comments from the committee?
Yeah, I would just say the report that you've written is excellent. It's really well written, and it is a must read for anybody in our community who's interested in our environment and what we're doing to preserve it now and for the future. And I would like to compliment Brian particularly. Brian is really good at inspiring the teamwork and the collaboration that's needed to get the kind of results you see in this report. You don't get this by one person, you get it by teamwork. And I know I speak for everybody who works with you. Thank you so much for all you do. You really do a fantastic job, and everybody really appreciates it.
You guys make it easy, as long as I appreciate the support. It's a two-way street. We all want Morris Township to be more sustainable. So really appreciate the support. So thank you.
It's a team effort. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hard work.
Thank you, Brian. Yep. Mr. Quinn is going to fix the podium. We now move on to our first public comment and inquiry period. We currently have 10 members of the public joining us on Zoom, and we have members of the public here in the meeting room with us this evening. We will take comments from in-person attendees first and then switch over to Zoom. Please virtually raise your hand on Zoom to indicate you would like to speak if you wish to do so. When commenting, please state your name and address for the record. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have any questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. With that, is there a motion to open our first public comment period?
So moved.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any members of the public here in the building like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, any members on Zoom wishing to speak, please raise your hand. Okay. Mr. Goldberg.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Good evening. We can hear you.
Yep, Lee Goldberg, 10 Arrowhead Road. I just have a question, a general question on Resolution 6023. Is this the anticipated last year of that expenditure, or is there any horizon on how long that gas venting work will need to continue, or is that on a assessed on a year-to-year basis?
Cornine, Field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 60.
No. That is for the foreseeable future, as it's a requirement of our DEP approval. When we built the field, we will hope that they would relax it, but that is up to them and beyond our control.
So there's a touch point on an annual basis to review it, or
We're required to test every year, and those findings have to go down to DEP for their review. And we
Okay,
test
thank you.
several times a year.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Any further comments from members of the public?
Just Mayor, if I could.
Yep. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on that question, Mr. Quinn, so just for clarification, because I was going to have a similar question when the resolution came up. Do we request from DEP each year that we can cease doing this?
We did this past year through our consultant, we're denied.
And we were denied. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no further members of the public wishing to speak, will someone make a motion to close our first public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have two ordinances for introduction on tonight's agenda. I will be recusing myself from ordinance 02-23 as it pertains to the fire department. Therefore, I'll handle the first ordinance and Deputy Mayor Ravitz will handle the second ordinance. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the title of the first ordinance into the record.
An ordinance of the Township of Morris, County of Morris concerning salaries for non-union personnel.
May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 01-23 on first reading and schedule for a second reading at the regular Township Committee meeting on March 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions for members of the committee? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 01-23 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. I'll turn it over to Mr. Ravitz.
Madam Clerk, please read the title of the second ordinance into the record.
An ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, New Jersey concerning salaries for fire department non-union personnel.
May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 0223 on first reading and schedule for a second reading at the regular Township Committee meeting on March 15th, 2023?
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
I'm recusing myself.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, the public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 0223 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ravitz. We have 20 resolutions on tonight's agenda. First, before I ask for a motion, are there any resolutions members would like polled to vote on separately?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question too.
So why don't we
on
do the motion to approve by one motion, and then we can do questionings, then do the roll call. Mr. Cantor, does that sound in order?
I think they should probably ask the questions first, Mayor, in
Okay.
case they're going to vote based on the answer to the questions. I don't know what
Fair
questions they
enough.
may ask.
Okay, Mr. Grayzel, then Mrs. Wilson.
Sure, thanks. So one of my questions was answered already on resolution 60. On the first resolution 50, just wondering if that amount covers just the Township Committee meetings or all the Township Committee meetings, the planning board, and all the other work that gets done?
Just the meetings held in this room, being the Township Committee and the two land use boards.
Very good. And that's a blanket fee for the whole year for those meetings?
That's an estimated what it's going to cost us. We pay this by meeting service.
Very good. Thank you. No more questions.
My question is on 5623. It's a process question related to the hearing. I see the appointment of the hearing officer, the decision by the appropriate authority. My question is, if there is a hearing like this, is there a role for the township committee or not?
No, ma'am.
No.
On a disciplinary matter, it goes to the appropriate authority for the final decision.
Okay, thank you.
That's by state statute.
Okay. Any further questions from members of the committee? Hearing none, may I please have a motion to approve resolutions numbers 50-23 through 69-23 by one motion?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call vote on resolutions 50-23 through 69-23?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. We have two items on the consent calendar this evening. May I please have a motion to approve the two items on the February consent calendar?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have consideration of monthly reports next. We have received reports from the Joint Court and Fire Department for December 2022, and the Tax Collector, Police Department, the Library, and the Fire Department for January 2023. May I please have a motion to approve these monthly reports?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Claims for payment. The total amount of bills and vouchers for this meeting is $12,780,774.64. As a reminder to our residents, we are also the tax collector for the school district, the library, and the county of Morris. May I please have a motion to approve the list of bills and vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Standing committee reports and commentary. At this time, we'll go down the line for the township committee members for their reports and general commentary for this evening. And this evening, I'll start with Committeewoman Guariglia.
Thank you, Mayor. For standing committees, I'll give short reports on. The first one is the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and want to thank Liam Gallagher, who's the chairperson of that committee, who led our meeting the other evening. We have two new members, Megan Burke and Maureen Davis, and welcome them and thank you for volunteering. The night we had the meeting, there was a recap on the Madison Avenue strategic vision. And we talked a lot about collaboration between the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Environmental Committee, and making recommendations to the Planning Board on the master plan. The other thing we did was reviewed the 5 goals of the strategic plan. So we're off to a really good start, and I think we have a vibrant group to move forward with this. On Transportation Advisory, Jim Hunt is the chair, and he led his first meeting the other day. We did talk a little bit about how Morris Township is in compliance with the MUTCD, which is the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that we've always been in compliance with these standards, and that's why many of the decisions we make, we do look to that. Another big discussion there was about couple things: education, design, technology, and change moving forward. We had subcommittee updates on walking, biking, and we've combined driving and parking. We talked a little bit about when the Collinsville Tucker Field is completed, about what the parking situation. We'll have to look to see how we address that there. Engineer Jim Slate gave an update on road and sidewalk projects that engineering has in the queue for this year. And then we talked about a couple other things: Vision Zero, complete streets, the traffic calming policy are all things that we continue to work on as we go forward. And the last thing, we talked about having speakers not only come to EDAC, but also having EDAC come speak to the Township Committee at a meeting. Continue work on the budget, and just want to say, for my first experience, we've been working hard on that, and appreciate the cooperation and understanding through, when we have tough times, it's always a little bit harder, but we're moving along on that. On my commentary, I would like to again congratulate Fire Lieutenant Danielle Bishop, wishing her every success in her new role. Also want to extend congratulations to Suzanne Walsh, who will be our new town clerk. And Pamela, I want to thank you for giving your coming up and giving some history on the Collinsville Civic and Improvement League. I'd like to emphasize the importance of that becoming active again. And this was always a group of true leaders who participated in raising awareness of the Collinsville neighborhood and surely will support the revitalization of the new and improved state-of-the-art recreation area. But most importantly, in the resolution that Committeeman Ravitz read, I thought was bullet point number 6, where it said fosters the development of inclusivity between Collinsville residents and broader township residents. That opportunity is available to all. And I think that's important as a township that we share a lot of our neighborhoods, even though we're kind of set up, we're in a big circle, but we should all share in meeting and getting to know other parts of the township. And that'll be a good place to do that. I want to just talk a little bit about Black History Month. One of the things I think is important to mention, not only in Morris Township and around Morristown, but we should always continue to support Black-owned businesses. The other night, I attended at the Morris County Library an event that was put on by the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area and co-sponsored with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority and BLM of Morristown on reparations. It was called Reparations Say the Word, and it was an educational event. It's educating New Jersey citizens on the New Jersey Reparations Task Force Bill 8938/S387, which would create a task force to conduct research and develop repertory proposals and recommendations. New Jersey had 2/3 of the slaves in the North, and we do have to reconcile this piece of our past history. Although on June 19th, 1865 was the date the last Confederate community of enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, received word that they had been freed from slavery, New Jersey was the last state to give up slaves on January 23, 1866. The then new governor, Marcus Ward of Newark, signed a state constitutional amendment that brought an absolute end to slavery in New Jersey. So it's important to understand there's not a clear pathway here, and the better understanding we have and being able to provide support to our legislators to create a task force to acknowledge, address, and bring closure on inequities will help end policies that for too long contributed to limiting opportunities for all. With that said, Monday is President's Day. It was originally celebrating Washington and Lincoln's birthday, but then it was changed to President's Day, including bringing all presidents and the broader view of our founding nation to be celebrated. I think it's important this holiday weekend, we remember many of our great presidents, but more importantly, we should think about our neighbors and fellow residents, and especially thank those right here in our town who step up to volunteer and continue to fulfill the duties to advance our town to be the best we can be as a caring, inclusive, safe community. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeewoman Guariglia. Committeeman Grayzel.
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Economic Development meetings with Committeewoman Guariglia. She did a very nice summary. Thank you. I just wanted to add that we also spoke about objectives for the year. And I encourage anybody in the public who has a suggestion for us in terms of what we might do for transportation or walking or biking or anything around town or the economic vitality of Morris Township to reach out to us and let us know your ideas. It's very important for us to get input from the public because there are lots of ideas and we don't have all of them. So I encourage everybody to reach out to us with their ideas. One suggestion I did have for EDAC, for example, is that we reach out to all businesses located in Morris Township. We have a very well-balanced tax base here in Morris Township between the commercial developments and the residential homes that we have here, and it's important to keep that balance. Many of the office buildings have multiple business tenants in them, and I think it would be a good idea to reach out to those individual companies because we want to make sure that the existing businesses here in Morris Township are happy and they're satisfied and they want to stay here because that helps the community thrive and supports that tax base. Committeewoman Guariglia mentioned in TAC that Jim Slate reviewed some of the projects So as an engineering committee report, I wanted to review them more specifically. Normandy Parkway Road Improvement Project is on track to begin construction the first week of April. That includes a whole road reconstruction along with a sidewalk that's going to be added on Normandy Parkway. The next road construction project after that is the neighborhood of Gregory Avenue, Kennedy Road, and Pine Tree Lane. Letters going out to residents in that area that there's going to be a public presentation on that project. This will include a sidewalk on Gregory and Kennedy as well, which doesn't have one right now, or there are portions on Gregory that have one, but not on Pine Tree because that's a dead-end street and the residents didn't think that there was a need for one there. Next, the bid package on multiple sidewalk projects are going out shortly. That includes the Sussex Avenue sidewalk, which is a very long stretch running from pretty much the Morris Township border, a little bit in from that all the way out to Patriots Path, a section on Enmere Road that's going to connect to the pool and the sports complex there, as well as a little section out here on Woodland Avenue that's going to connect to Old Glen Road. So we are hoping that the bids will come back and we're going to award that contract at our April meeting. And lastly, an application was received for a Starbucks on Madison Avenue, located between the Primrose School and the mini car dealership. And that's in the old Wells Fargo building that's partially houses the Primrose School. And the small portion is going to be Starbucks now. And that application is going to be upcoming at the planning board. And my last shared services report is for the Joint Municipal Court, which is under the jurisdiction of the Shared Services Committee. As a reminder, this is a shared court located in Madison that is utilized by Morris Township, Madison, Chatham Borough, and Chatham Township. We held our first quarterly meeting a couple of weeks ago, and this year Morris Township holds the vice chair position on the committee. The court is running very smoothly, I'm happy to report, and this shared service saves Morris Township in excess of $200,000 a year. So we're happy to be part of it. For my general committee commentary, I want to thank Pamela Watson for her very interesting and oral history presentation on Collinsville. I found it fascinating, and I wonder if we could possibly take that oral history and post it on the website. We have, history pages of certain sections of town on the website. I'm not sure that I saw that Collinsville is on there. So her oral history might be a good basis for putting something up on our website for consideration. I want to thank Environmental Commission Chair Brian Morgan for his presentation as well. Thank you to also the many volunteers comprising the Environmental Committee. They are really doing some great work, as Kathy Wilson pointed out. And thank you, Kathy, for all your driving force behind that committee as well. Back in January of 2019, when I first became mayor, I signed on to a national pledge called the Mayors Against Illegal Guns. And ever since, I have been speaking out against gun violence. Yesterday marked the 5-year anniversary of the mass shooting at Stoneham Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, where 17 people were killed. As Mayor Gyorfy mentioned earlier, we had a moment of silence for the mass shooting at Michigan State University. And just so everybody understands, a mass shooting is generally defined as any incident in which at least 4 people were shot. So today is only the 46th day of 2023, and we have already had 68 mass shootings by some counts in our country this year. 68 mass shootings in 46 days. It happens so frequently that most of us don't hear about those things, thankfully, because they don't occur here in New Jersey. Here in New Jersey, we have some of the strongest gun safety laws in our country. And I wanted to take this opportunity to remind everyone of one of those laws. It's called the Red Flag Law, also known as an extreme protection measure, that was passed in New Jersey in recognition of the fact that in some cases, individuals that could be individuals in a would-be shooter's life, so somebody who you know in your life who has a gun, could be a would-be shooter, they may recognize certain signals indicating an impending danger prior to any act being committed. The Red Flag Law will allow New Jersey law enforcement officers to temporarily confiscate guns from certain citizens upon meeting an evidentiary threshold. This is something that's not available in all states, but we do have it here in New Jersey. And I just wanted to remind everybody, if they happen to be in that situation, that we have that law and we should utilize it. A different kind of tragedy also occurred this week that I'd like to speak out about. A New Jersey high school freshman committed suicide after she had been bullied and beaten. It's very saddening. I remind everybody of the phrase in law enforcement that we use that says, see something, say something. Please, if you see something wrong, please be an upstander. Don't be a bystander. We are a community and we need to support each other and stand up for those in need and that need our help. Sometimes it takes courage to do that, but we all need to be courageous at those times. I also want to take the opportunity to make sure everybody is aware of the statewide mental health hotline that was put in place last year. If you or anybody you know needs help, I implore you to take advantage of this confidential service and call the hotline or text with a specialist. You can dial 211 to speak with a specialist or text 898-211 to communicate with a specialist. More information is available on the website nj211.org. And I am so sorry to have to discuss these heartbreaking stories in my remarks tonight, but I simply cannot become immune to the events happening over and over again. We just can't be numb to this. We need to feel the hurt each time so that eventually we have enough people who are willing to make and fight for changes. There is much work still to be done in our society to make it safer and provide a stronger safety net for our kids and others. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Committeeman Grayzel. Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Thank you. I have two initiatives that our Environmental Commission is working on that I'd like to highlight tonight. Over the past month, a countless number of hours have gone into preparing a $20,000 grant proposal for technical support to assist our EC in developing an ERI. An ERI, Environmental Resource Inventory, is an inventory of the natural and historic resources in our town. It provides fundamental background information for a wide range of activities and decisions that relate to land use, including site reviews, ordinances, and master plan work. This grant that was applied for is in addition to the $2,000 tool chest grant that I highlighted last month. The opportunity to apply for these grants is one of many benefits to us of having achieved the certification through the Sustainable Jersey program. And big kudos to the EC for all the work and indeed the teamwork. This was a group effort that went into preparing these grant applications. And special kudos to Brian. You really pulled it out there over the weekend to make that grant, to finish it. And everybody was really grateful. So we'll find out in May what the result is. Another initiative I wanted to highlight that is being undertaken, especially in the last month, is we're calling it Avoid Invasives, Plant Natives. It used to be called the Do Not Plant Initiative. The steps that are being taken are two, basically, a sort of top-down outreach with all of the homeowners associations in Morris Township, and a kind of bottom-up outreach with individuals across our town. The goal here is to continue raising awareness and spreading the word that when it comes to planting trees and shrubs and other types of plants, Morris Township strongly encourages everyone in our town to avoid invasives and plant natives. As I said, this is the new name for what used to be called the Do Not Plant Initiative. We passed that resolution about 2 years ago. Since then, the planning board has been very successful in obtaining commitments to abide by this resolution as a condition of approval from many of the applications it's considered. The outreach to the HOAs is the next logical step since they're one of our biggest planning sources in town, and the committee has developed a plan for doing that. Outreach with individuals will take place. We have a pledge that's been developed that explains the initiative, and the goal is to get as many individuals to sign the pledge as possible. For anyone who's interested in learning more about this initiative and actually getting the native plants that you need to support it, I recommend participating in the upcoming plant sale that's sponsored by the Great Swamp. And you can find out more about that. The January issue of the EC newsletter was pretty much devoted to the Great Swamp plant sale, and I encourage you to check it out on the township's website. A quick update about our Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. This committee put the finishing touches on a needs survey at their first meeting in January. The survey has since been shared with the public on the township's email and social media channels. Hopefully you've seen it. The goal here is to identify the needs of seniors in our community and to make recommendations to address those needs. So hearing from as many people as possible is vital to accomplishing this goal. If you are one of Morris Township's 6,835 residents age 60 or older, please be sure to complete this survey right away and encourage all your friends who are seniors to do the same. My general comments, yes, I'd like to echo thank you to Pam Watson for that really interesting history. And thank you to Brian for presenting the report and doing the report. Very interesting. And I'd love to see the EC report will be posted on the website. And I'd love to see your information about Collinsville posted as well. I did want to comment on Resolution 50-23. I was glad to see that we passed this resolution authorizing the award of a contract for professional video services. When I saw this resolution, I couldn't help but smile and reflect on many experiences I've had right here in this room. First, trying to convince our previous governing body of why video of these meetings was even needed. That was a bit of an uphill battle. When it became obvious that they were not going to budge, I began working together with a college kid to bring video of these meetings to the public on my own. I did that for 5 years, and not one word of thanks from our predecessors. So seeing tonight's resolution made me really proud of where we've come from and where we are. Multiple cameras, a video production crew, and video postings, not only of our township committee meetings, but of our planning board meetings, and soon I hope of our Board of Adjustment meetings as well. All of which makes me very happy. So that resolution made me think of all this history. Speaking of history, February is a big month for anyone who's interested in history. Locally, we have one of my favorite events of the year, the President's Day Luncheon, sponsored by the Washington Association. Besides the opportunity to celebrate George Washington's birthday and legacy with other history enthusiasts, the highlight of this event is a presentation by a historian who's doing current research on the Revolutionary War. This lecture and luncheon have been a tradition for the Washington Association since 1887. Many layers of history here, and well worth attending if you're available. Next Monday, February 20th, 11:30 at Rod's. February is also Black History Month, which over the years has taken on a whole new significance for me. Every year, I am struck by the extent to which my own education, which was very traditional, was also very incomplete. Black history was not covered very much at all. I grew up loving history, teaching history myself, and only realizing now the extent to which my own background on Black history and also on women's history was woefully incomplete. At the same time, ironically, in light of all the controversies that are going on today, I find myself more appreciative than ever of the traditional tools I learned for how to approach the study of history at all. The two most important of which for me include, first of all, an understanding that history is all about differing interpretations, And second, the ability and the willingness to apply critical thinking skills. The existence of differing interpretations is not new. What is new is the content that's being brought forward for consideration. For example, my education included no reference to the fact that a ship carrying enslaved people arrived on the shore of what is now Virginia in 1619. I never knew that until recently. That fact and others like it were never mentioned in our schools and have led to interpretations of our country's history that some people find objectionable. I'm glad to see new facts, new scholarship, new interpretations, and new interest in our history. What I'd like to see more people applying the very traditional tool of critical thinking. As I think about Black History Month, I'm saddened by the content gaps in my own education, but I'm very appreciative of the habits of mind that were such an important part of my own education, and ironically, are more relevant today than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. Deputy Mayor Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your participation in our local community government. National politics may get all the spotlight, but it's what we do here locally that has the biggest economic and quality of life impact on our lives. And before I get started, I really want to thank my colleagues and express my complete agreement and appreciation for their thoughtful commentaries tonight, because they are all just spot on. So thank you very much for that. Very, very good comments. Let me get into my standing committee updates. Let's see, I want to welcome Sue Walsh as our new township clerk, and we all look forward to working with her. Thank you to Dawn, our current clerk, for the extra month that she's going to be staying on and helping Sue with her onboarding. And the best of everything to you, Dawn, in the next phase of your career. Regarding Parks and Rec, before I even get onto that, I also want to echo the thank yous to the community of folks who are here tonight and have presented. It's much appreciated. And there was a lot to be learned, both from Pam Watson and from Brian Morgan. Pickleball memberships continue to be hot. We now have over 400 requested memberships, which the vast majority are from residents. So remember, residents get a free guest badge with each $25 badge that they purchase. And you can sign up using the community pass on the Parks and Rec webpage. Keep your membership badge visible and available for spot checks. With regard to the Collinsville Park Tucker Field renovations, the stakeholder meetings are complete. We are anticipating a public unveiling of the proposed concept at the next Parks and Rec Advisory Committee meeting, which will be held, as the mayor had mentioned, at the Unity Charter School on March 8th. And I encourage all interested members of the community to attend to provide feedback. We really do want to get this right. It's going to need to be a park that's going to last for the next 15 to 20 years. Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill will be presenting a ceremonial check for the renovation of the park in Tucker Field at 10:15 a.m. on February 24th at the Collinsville Park. And so we'll see you there. Which brings me to my fire department update. After leaving Collinsville, Congresswoman Sherrill will visit the Woodland Fire Company to see our new ladder truck, which was delivered last month. The members of the public are welcome to be there too. And finally, welcome to the MTFD to Jacob Baskin and Lloyd Quinn. And now on to my public commentary. As we all know, February is Black History Month. There's been a lot said about it here on the dais, a lot of thoughtful commentary. So I'm just going to be uncharacteristically brief. I'm so glad tonight that the residents got to learn about the Collinsville Civic League and their role in keeping the rich history of Collinsville alive and advancing the issues concerning the community. I recently learned that the NAACP was formed exactly 100 years after President Lincoln's birth on February 12th, 1909, and that was by design. Their purpose was to establish, and I quote, promote equality of rights and eradicate caste or race prejudice among citizens of the United States, to advance the interest of colored citizens, to secure for them impartial suffrage, and to increase their opportunities for securing justice in the courts, education for their children, employment according to their ability, and complete equality before the law, end quote. Collectively, we the people have come a long way in our thinking since 1909. There's still a long way to go, and honoring contributions of Black Americans, whether it be old history or more modern history, is positively impactful towards continued progress. The Collinsville Civic League should be recognized for their role in promoting these same goals that the NAACP laid out 100 years ago. And as always, I like to end my commentary with the following. Let's not marginalize or demonize the people who have less political or economic power as some of us might now enjoy. Rather, let's face up to and stand up to those who continue to profit from our division. We have more in common than should ever divide us, but we have to talk to and not at each other. Amplifying misinformation, hateful or violent rhetoric is not part of any civil political discourse. Lastly, let's remember that as you go about your business each and every day, to just be kind. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Kindness ripples. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ravitz. I'll start off with my standing committee reports. The first one is not as exciting or as glamorous as the other standing committees, which is finance, which Committeewoman Guariglia talked about, but we are heavily into budget season. Thank you, Administrator Quinn and our CFO, Francine DeAngelis, for all their hard work, along with our department heads. As we've prefaced for the past several months, this is a very difficult budget year for us. Not only dealing with the problems from inflation, but also the huge hikes in health insurance premiums for our municipal employees. So we are going through everything very, we're trying to save as much money as we can where we can, but also making sure we're protecting the services our residents enjoy and depend on. So we will continue to meet. I know we have several rounds further to go through, but we are still on track for a March introduction of the budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we will have more information on that soon. We're still waiting for our state aid numbers as well. But we are going to do everything we can to make sure all of our projects continue to stay on track. And we continue our commitment to our residents for providing the services that they need. For the Communications Standing Committee, Deputy Mayor Wilson and I will be going over our priorities for 2023 sometime soon, but we do have some good ideas for communications. And I know, Deputy Mayor Wilson, you had the great idea talking about a presentation for land use upcoming. And I think you ran one several years ago. That I think was a tremendous help. We have it on YouTube still for anyone interested, but something more educational opportunities for our residents on land use is much needed. And I'm looking forward to working with you on that.
Same.
Moving forward. For general commentary, as everyone said, thank you, Pamela, for coming out tonight, for providing your presentation and talking about the history. I know for Parks and Rec, we have talked about incorporating Collinsville's history in the park redesign and having landmarks or plaques harkening back to Collinsville's history as part of the plan. So not only the folks who are here now know about the rich history of Collinsville, but residents in the future know about it and they're able to tell those stories. So that's something that's really important to us. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the consultants have to unveil in a few short weeks. I also wanted to add, Committeeman Grayzel, I think you missed the Walnut reconstruction project too for the street. I know residents on Walnut Street got the engineering plans for the reconstruction project there for putting the sidewalk in, repaving it, and we're also going to be doing stamping on the intersection at Walnut and Cleveland, sorry, to slow down traffic as a traffic calming measure. It's going to be something that's going to look really nice too, going with the playground project to make it look really nice over there. I want to congratulate Lieutenant Bizup on her promotion this evening. I've served with Danielle, I think, all of my years in the fire department, and she has always been really a positive worker in the fire department. She's always offered constructive feedback when needed. She's a diligent worker. She's a great firefighter, and she's a great leader for our fire department. So I want to congratulate her and her family this evening. I want to thank Brian for your presentation and for you chairing the EC again this year, and providing all the report for the Township Committee to go through. And as always, we have open ears. We're always welcome to your feedback on things we can do to better our town. Mr. Grayzel talked about gun violence prevention, and like I've also signed on to Mayors Against Illegal Guns, as I think Deputy Mayor Wilson was a member of when she was mayor too. And I was talking to Administrator Quinn earlier, and we're getting to the point now where these shootings are happening so frequently. And it reminded me from the Michigan State shooting, which was tragic and so recent, but you know, when you're a kid or a college student, you get that nightmare once that you forgot you missed your final, or you forgot you signed up for a class and it's final day and you don't know anything and you have to take this exam and you're going to get an F. But when I was at the University of Maryland, and you know, with all the mass shootings that had been happening, I went from having that nightmare to the nightmare of being trapped in the library when there was a gunman. And that's not getting any better for the students of today. And it's hard to say that younger students, I'm sure, are having those nightmares too now. And we're fortunate to live in New Jersey, where we have reasonable and strong gun safety legislation and laws. But, you know, what do you tell your kids when they go to school somewhere else that they don't have the same protections that we do? So I feel for the students at Michigan State and across the country, students in college, students in high schools, students in elementary schools, preschoolers who have been impacted over the past several years. It's heartbreaking. I think we all agree, and we all agree something needs to be done at a federal level. But my heart goes out to everyone impacted, not only in Michigan State, but also the shootings out in California as well a few weeks ago. With that, I think I will close and we will move on to our public comment portion, the second one for the evening. So we currently have 7 members of the public who are joining us virtually, and we still have some members of the public here in person. If you're interested in speaking, please raise your digital hand. We will please state your name and address before speaking. Note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have questions you'd like answered, your remaining time will be yielded back for that purpose. So I see Marlene Memmer's hand is raised. Any members of the public here in person wishing to speak? Any of the Minutemen in the back want to talk? Thank you for coming out tonight. Okay, we'll recognize Marlene Memmer.
Good evening, everyone. Marlene Memmer, 63 Independence Way. Just wait a minute, my screen is showing something funny. But first of all, I just wanted to ask, where can we find the 2022 Environmental Committee annual report? Will it be on the website, and where on the website?
Mrs. Memmer, now it's been accepted by the governing body, will be going up on the Environmental Commission page of the website tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Secondly, this is going back to a meeting that I viewed in December, and it was regarding the 257 Kimball Avenue property. And basically, I found it very interesting, but I also found it very confusing because of the number of different zoning codes that were mentioned in the resolutions and the ordinance. So before I presented a question to the Township Committee, I went online to see whether or not I could find a listing of what these codes were and a brief explanation as to what they are. And I do have that listing here. To clarify, this particular property was zoned OSGU since, I believe the discussion was since 2007. And so now the consideration is there's a new consideration for this particular property. Prior to that, it was zoned for affordable housing, but I didn't get the zoning code for that. What was the zoning code for that at the time?
That code was RH5.
RH5, okay. Oh, mixed housing zone, that is. Okay, that's not necessarily affordable housing, but it said mixed housing zone is what I see here on my printout, correct?
I believe that may be what it's called. I remember the number. I don't remember the name of it.
It's not specifically just for affordable housing, but anything would be built on there would probably have a set aside for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. As far as the OSGU, that is open space government use zoning. This is, when you talk about government use, are we talking about the township use, state use? What is that specifically?
It's open space, but it can be government use by any government entity.
But in this particular instance, it is the township that we're looking at here.
Marlene, are you talking about OSGU in general, or are you talking about OSGU on that particular property?
Well, on this particular property, I believe it was stated in the resolution that it would be the township. But so anything that is zoned that can be any of the above. It could be the local, it could be the state, or even the federal. Is that correct?
We have in our zoning code OSGU, and in I believe it was 2006, that property was taken out of the RH5 zone and rezoned OSGU. So it's like zoned to the OSGU zone that is defined and used in our town.
Okay. Okay. I believe that's what I was looking at, but like I said, I was trying to follow in the conversation as best I could, and it was helpful to get the zoning codes listing. So that helped me somewhat, but I still was wondering about the other thing here.
Marian, let me tell you, if you look in the township code on the website, there is information in there. I think it's chapter 95 that explains all the characteristics of all the different zones.
Right.
So you would be interested in that.
It shows the 95-5 is a designation of zones, and then it shows the zoning map, which you need to go to the township to get that. And then interpretation of boundaries is basically, you know, what it says here. So I think that was the questions that I had on that one, and I thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Mr. Goldberg.
Hi, this is Lee Goldberg, 10 Arrowhead Road. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. Lee Goldberg, 10 Arrowhead Road. I just want to make a comment on, I know Mr. Grayzel had brought up an application, I guess that's in for a Starbucks on Madison Avenue. That's going to be coming before the planning board. I'm not sure if that application is deemed complete or it's ready to be put up on the sort of land use portion of our website. Would there be an expectation that that'll be going up soon?
It has not finished the TCC process yet.
So the application is not complete. Thank you very much. And then upon completion of that, then the process of my understanding is then, once that completes, it does go to the township website, correct?
Once the applicant is notified and they establish a date.
Thank you. Thank you very much for clarifying. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Any further comments from the public? All right. Seeing none, I believe is there a motion to close the second public comment period?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our last item is adjournment. The time is now 8:37 PM.
Got to pay the bills first.
We have to pay the bills first. Oh, we already did.
We did that.
Oh, we did the bills. Oh.
We're responsible. We paid the
That's right.
bills.
Okay.
Um,
That's the last thing. Right.
Thank you to everyone who joined us on Zoom and joined us in person. May I have a motion to adjourn again? I'm sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next regular Township Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, March 15th, 2022 at 7 PM in person and via Zoom. Close will be at 5 PM. Please note that there will also be a special meeting of the Township Committee on Monday, February 27th, 2023 at 6 PM, which will include a public hearing for a grant application for the Collinsville Playground and Beatrice Tucker Park project. And this is a state open acres grant application. And we need to get our application in on time. So we have to have the hearing on Monday, the 27th. So with that, adjournment is now in order. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.